Our next lecturer is Jose Antonio Morales from Bled School of Management. He'll present you examples of good practice across industries and across the globe, and he will show you how you can manage and generate social impact while keeping your company healthy and wealthy. Mr. Jose, welcome.
Hello, thank you very much. Can everybody hear me? Yes. Yes? Super. Great. So there's going to be some feedback. I'm going to be making you some questions, and I'd love to hear your voice. Well, yes, my name is Jose Morales. I'm a social entrepreneur coming from Slovenia. And I would like to introduce me a little bit. I would like to show you a bit of my path as an entrepreneur. So as you can see there on the map, I was born in Peru, in South America, and I lived there my first 28 years, where I started very early as an entrepreneur. I was very much into tech. I built, in cooperation with Microsoft, the first cyber mall, or what it would be e-commerce today, the first community online that we called Exchange Latino. And I was one of the first internet service providers in Peru. I was a trainer and a speaker for Microsoft for many years. After that, I moved to Europe. I went to Slovenia, got married there, and built my family. And I became an expert in some other technology. In this case was SharePoint. Maybe some of you know it. I got awarded for Microsoft for my work with partners. I was the first one building or setting up a conference for SharePoint in the region. We achieved amazing stuff with schools where we grew to 60% of the primary schools working with Microsoft technologies. And I got a global recognition as a partner area lead for Central Eastern Europe. So all great there until the moment that the crisis of 2008 came. And it also came with an opportunity for me to move to New York as an innovation officer for a management consulting company. So I went there with my family. I got granted US patent, and it was an amazing experience for management consulting. So all the topics of business management and leadership. And it was there where I was 39 years old, and I was a bit confused about what is going to be my future. I was very much sure that I was going to leave the company from there and do something else. And it was in the US that I learned, it's not that I learned, but I heard again the word entrepreneur. A person said to me, Jose, you're an entrepreneur, you can do whatever you want, and you are going to find a way of succeeding with it. So with that empowerment, I returned to Europe, where I started a completely new chapter. So Jose version 2.0. I started something called Lincoln Island Adventures because I wanted to travel with like-minded people. Then I started an initiative called Fear and Fail, where I explored the world of failure and fear for entrepreneurs. I started up, I think it's the oldest co-working space now in Slovenia. It's called Aurora Co-working, and it's a co-working space in a rural area. I became a mentor for social enterprises, and right now I'm going through a program called the Ashoka Visionary Program. And that's why I'm here in front of you to try to share with you some of my experience in the world of social entrepreneurship. And if I'm not wrong, most of you are connected with the world of tech. Is that correct? Yes, good. So not everybody, maybe. Okay, good. So what do you think? Is entrepreneurship about following rules? No. So it's basically about doing what you want to do in the way you want to do it. Is that right? But someone said no there. I heard. Correct. Because if you, I mean, if you follow the rules, so why do we follow rules? Which kind of rules should we follow, right? So I will not try to give an answer, but I would like to let you there with that question because it's an essential question. If you see, even in the fashion industry, you can see Richard Branson showing us that he is who he wants to be and he doesn't care what the others think about him. We have Steve Jobs with his famous black turtleneck that transformed him into some kind of an icon. We have Arianna Huffington showing empathy and professionalism. And we have J.K. Rowling showing empathy and connection. And at the same time, you can see a bit of her dark or difficult past. All of them amazing entrepreneurs that succeeded in the world of business and that express themselves for who they are. I cannot think of any entrepreneur of any kind that follows the rules of somebody else. And in the past, one guy called Antonio Machado said, "Walker, there is no path, the path is made by walking." So in the context of entrepreneurship, what would we think? How can we connect this to our path of entrepreneurship? And I think that there are two ways. One of the ways is to create your own path, right? So you do something completely different. And the other one is try to follow the path of somebody else. And in my experience, I can tell you that even when you choose to do what somebody else did, you're always going to create your own path. So at the end, in life and entrepreneurship, is always going to be about creating your own path. If you go to do something completely different, you are going to have kind of an accelerator where you are going to go through more challenges faster. And when you go closer to what somebody else did, basically you're going to have it a bit easier. But anyway, the lessons that you need to learn will take longer. So I'm going to talk about some interesting examples of social entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship in general. But if we have to be so independent and if we have to not follow the rules of somebody else, why do we have to care about case studies and best practices? And this image is amazing to me because it is just a practice of reflection. So, in my opinion and in my experience, when we see different cases, what we are trying to look for is ourselves. So, me as an individual, as an entrepreneur, or we as an organization. When we look for a case study, it's not that we are trying to look for the 10 steps for success or the 10 things that they did right. It's basically to make a comparison with what they are doing and what we are doing. That's why the process is called reflection. And when we take the attitude of looking at ourselves in the examples of the others, is when we learn what are we doing that can be changed. And I did the example of the 10 steps to do something because that's exactly what many people does. It's trying to get recipes, right? And if we agree that basically entrepreneurs should not follow the rules, then we have to create our own, right? Through a process of reflection. And adding to that previous image, we have this super important graph. Have you seen it before? It is too small. Okay, so I'm going to explain it. Do you know who Robert Keegan is? Yes. Okay, so he made an amazing book and this amazing chart where he tries to describe how the mind of the human develops on time. Okay, and there are three different steps here that are important for us that are adults. Okay, and the first one is socialized mind. So the one that is lower, okay, is in the line of time, that is the horizontal one, is closer to the beginning. And in the line of complexity, that is the vertical line, is also closer to the beginning, right? So socialized mind. That's the kind of mentality or mindset of a person that has around 19 years old. Basically, is a team player, is a faithful follower, seeks direction, so is constantly asking for instructions on how to do the things, is reliant, that means that is obedient, and is trying to look basically for approval from the rest of the team. That's the socialized mind, okay? So when time passes, we can move to the next one, that is self-authoring mind. So you can imagine here kind of a boss that is not only is not only a person with authority, but is also a person with some kind of leadership. It is a person capable of driving the agenda. He or she has their own compass. They have their own frame and methodology, and they are very much focused on problem solving. Okay, those persons are independent. So the socialized mind is a follower. The self-authoring mind is an independent person. And the third and last step is the self-transforming mind. It's also called the meta leader. So it's a person that leads people not because he or she wants to. Is a leader because that's the way he or she learns more. It's a person that doesn't want to stop learning. And it's a person that realizes that it is not about him, but it is about everybody. He identifies himself as interdependent. That is one step forward from independent. So this is essential precisely because of this next image. If you can see the stage 3, the socialized mind, 58% of the adult population is still there. Can you believe? It's almost 60% of our population of adults are living with the mindset of 19-year-olds. And that means that all of them are looking for instructions and they are hiding under the skirt of a bigger boss that actually takes the responsibility for them. In the stage 4, so the self-authoring mind, 35% of the adult population. So it's quite okay, right? But then when you see that at the stage 5 is only 1% of the adult population, then we see, oh my God, there's something wrong here. We are arriving to being a boss or a leader, but we never go forward to become wise. Only 1% of the adult population. And the stage 2, if you can read it, that is called imperial mind. That is an adolescent. So the mindset of an adolescent is 6% of the adult population. That's unbelievable, right? That 6% of all the adults in the planet are still thinking as adolescents. So I wanted to present you this because basically, when you are an entrepreneur, when you are a business owner, and if you see yourself as a social entrepreneur, you need to know in which level you are because you want to move forward, right? You don't want to stay in stage in the stage in the socialized mind. You don't want to be only a boss. For you, it would be ideal to become a wise person that is interdependent and leads not because he needs, but leads because it gives her pleasure. So, do you think of yourself as social impact entrepreneurs? One yes, someone no. Okay, so basically, I guess that the majority of you are thinking of yourself as social impact entrepreneurs. I really think you are. And before explaining you why I think that you are a social entrepreneur, I would like to invite you to slido.com so you can use your mobile phone and sign in with that code 10377 and write what do you care about social issues. So what would you like to change in the world? What would you like to see better? And please describe it with one word. You can put multiple words, but is one by one so that we can see the cloud building up. Remember that you can you can enter multiple times words. Super. So we see equality as the most important. We care a lot about well-being, justice, self-awareness, safety. Wonderful. So thank you for that. As you can see, we are pretty well aware of social issues. And we would like, and I'm sure that you would agree, that we would like to see that our job, our work is going to have some kind of a special meaning, right? Let me read this to you just in case it is too small. I believe that you and many organizations know that you are social entrepreneurs, but the lack of awareness on how you and others impact our society positively is a handicap. We all want to be a force for good. We all want our activities to be meaningful. We all wish to have a legacy. Unfortunately, business as usual takes most of our focus and leaves us without time to prioritize other activities. So what I'm trying to say here is that even if you don't want to, you are a social entrepreneur. when you decide to go through the path of entrepreneurship in any way, you already decided to solve problems, even if are your personal problems. So social entrepreneurship is about that. Now, the big difference is the organizations that manage to measure the social impact and the organizations that doesn't. As you know, we are very science-driven, very mental kind of people. We have a culture that enjoys measuring everything. So in the case of social impact, the most important thing is to identify the metrics that you are going to use to see how are you affecting or how are you influencing on the improvement of social issues. Now, there's another way of understanding why do we need to measure our social impact. And the truth is that talking with a lot of people as experienced organizations and experienced and awarded social entrepreneurs, I found that these are their answers. There's something new that is called social impact investment. And VCs from everywhere in the world, from everywhere in the world, are getting ready for the opportunity that means social impact. Here we're talking about social innovation, we're talking about circular economy, we're talking about environment, etc. And let me tell you also that the European Union is getting ready to include social impact measurement as condition for some of their funding opportunities. So pretty soon you're going to see that social impact investment and social impact measurement becomes a priority. Not only that, but employee retention has a lot to do with the culture of the company, and it has a lot to do with the meaning that the employees find working there. Customer loyalty as well. So if your customers perceive that you're an organization that projects towards society, they will likely prefer to work with you than working with any other. Recruiting, if you have experience hiring people, and especially younger people, you will see that they really care about what are they going to do and where are they going to do it. They are capable of sacrificing time and their own wishes if they are working for a company or an organization that represents well their social causes or interests. And for the people that is in tech, especially, at least from my experience, when I was working as an IT person, sometimes I was feeling that I'm all day doing technical stuff and in front of a computer, and I'm not really adding value. Working for an organization that cares about social impact is definitely adding value, even if my work is not connected directly with helping people. So, as I said to you before, I've been working for 8 years as a social entrepreneur. And I can tell you that it's a bit crazy. Earlier, as a tech entrepreneur, I was more of a business person. So although making money was never easy peasy, it was possible. But then when I decided to become a social impact entrepreneur, something changed. And I couldn't see the business clearly. And I really focused on working on the why I'm doing something. So obviously, what I'm trying to say to you is that no matter if you start as a business person or as a social impact entrepreneur, you need to take in consideration the business aspect as a critical issue. Even if you have experience with business, when you define or decide to go for social impact, you might get confused and lose the business side of you. So very, very important. And another thing is that what I'm finding out is that successful social impact organizations are starting to include some aspect of technology and some aspect of technology in their work. So I think that those are the three aspects that are critical to implement, and also critical to see when you are trying to look for cases or examples to get inspiration. So when we talk about which are the fields of action for social enterprises, I got this research from the Ashoka. Ashoka is like the Microsoft of entrepreneurship, or the Google, whatever big organization. And they made this research in 2008, focusing on what they call their fellows. So it's a group of specially selected social entrepreneurs that have amazing results and great impact. So they defined that 11% are focused on environmental issues, 20% on economic development. That's very interesting to me. 17% on civic participation, 18% on education, 17% in health, 17% in human rights. So I thought that there were going to be more organizations focused on environment, to be honest, but it looks like not. And economic development, look, is 20%. So those are organizations that care about improving the ecosystems for supporting people to be more independent. Amazing, right? Another chart, or a group of charts, is this one. 78% of the organizations studied partnered with schools and universities. 78%. 79% partner with local or national governments. And 90% of them have seen their ideas replicated by independent groups. So some people will think, oh my God, everybody's copying, right? But actually, 67% of these organizations designed their products to be copied. So we see that when we're talking about social impact entrepreneurship, there is a very high level of network. 65% of these have seen their idea replicated within their country, and 41% of them replicated abroad. Something also interesting is that these social entrepreneurial organizations have a special role. They gather some kind of power to influence public policy. So you see there the chart is pretty interesting. So it is not only that they influence their local and national policy making, but also international. So social enterprises are very much interconnected. Okie dokie. So far, I don't know if you have some question. Maybe you would like to ask something. Okay, then we go forward. But whenever someone wants to make a question, please just let me know. So how it is social entrepreneurship today in multiple sectors? I scanned a very big database of amazing organizations, and I filtered some that are interesting because they are very different and they come from many different sectors. So I would like you to pay attention to them and maybe to find commonality with you, maybe with your local ecosystem. And okay, we will see what happens and how it goes. So the first example is a company called Skaza. It's a Slovenian company that produces plastic. And I wanted to show you this organization first because you would think, how is plastic going to be connected with social entrepreneurship when actually plastic is the problem? So this organization decided to change their business model and to focus on producing high quality products that are not made from virgin plastic. So they are going through a process to have their entire production to be from recycled plastics. There are some technological issues there because as when you recycle multiple times, the same plastic loses some kind of characteristic, and therefore they need to be mixed with new plastic. But they also decided to do something else, that is to create products that are there to solve social issues. The one that you're watching in the image is a composter, and the plastic is made from fishing nets. So all the fishing nets that are trashed, they collect them and they melt them and they create these composters for home. This is a product that they released, I think, a few days ago. And a part of that, they see that they have a social responsibility to care about social issues. So they organize a lot of community activity about the topic of recycling and responsible consumption. So they see that plastic is inevitable because it's a material that is excellent for what it does. The problem is the pollution that it creates, and that's the problem that they want to focus on. Okay, so that's Skaza. The next one is an IT company. This is a company that if you talk to them, you would never think of them as a social impact organization. They are 100% IT, very technical, very professional, very business oriented, super high quality kind of company. And actually, I love this company so much because what they do is they are consultants for huge companies, okay? And with the consulting practice that they have, they manage to create spin-offs. So, for example, they have a games company, they have a health care company, they have an application for improving your well-being. Is an app called Lake, and in every single aspect where they invest their time, they care about creativity, they care about social issues, and they care about technology very much. So yeah, 3FS is also a Slovenian company. And something that is fascinating to me is that a lot of the social activities that they do not use them for marketing purposes. Something is going on there with the screen. I think I'm going infinite. Am I alive?
Yes, we hear you.
Oof. Super. So, yeah, these guys do a lot of things for people in many different ways, and their employees take care of that. So sometimes they make donations, for example. Those donations are for different topics. They care about democracy, they care about children and equality, some of the values that you presented before in the cloud. And they design activities to support them. The employees take part on that, and but they don't advertise it. So it is not doing good as a marketing tactic, it's doing good because they care. And somehow the company gets recognition for that. So the people know and they see that the organization is authentic. So that's a very important thing for social enterprises of all kind, is to be authentic. Okie dokie. So the next one is an organization called Never Give Up. This organization is an Italian initiative that is co-founded by one very good friend, Simona Senesi. And what they do is they focus on a problem that is pretty huge: food disorders. So in this case, this is not a tech company. This is very much kind of an NGO that got a lot of recognition by the Italian government and abroad, because they found a methodology that is backed up by science to support teenagers with food disorders. In Italy, there are more than 2.5 million of teenagers having problems with food. And that's the number one cause of death for the people of that age. Just imagine how it is in your country and everywhere else. This is a serious issue, and they decided to tackle it, and they are doing it. Cool. This is Never Give Up. The next one is an amazing organization that started with a very simple vision. The founder of it, Olli, is his name, used one of these tricycles, typical from Scandinavia, and took it to pick up people, older people that are in elderly homes, right? And the idea picked up, and today they are present in more than 50 countries, and they served over 1.5 million people. So what they do is, those are chapters, self-organized groups of people everywhere in the planet that decide to get these tricycles to take the older persons around the city for rides. It's absolutely inspiring, because not only they managed to grow wildly all around the planet, but they implemented a system of self-management, a flat organization, that is really something to study about. The founders are kind of coordinators, and they set up some of the main principles, but the national groups that are doing these activities organized by themselves. Some of them are just volunteers, some of them are creating associations, some of them are finding local funding and fundraising in many different ways. But just imagine, they have thousands of not only persons that they see every day, but thousands of persons riding bicycles and moving people just for improving their quality of life. So this is an incredible thing. I really recommend you to check Ollie's TEDx talk. Very inspiring. Another organization that is completely different in this case is Gobi. So these guys are doing accessories for photographers. And the company was founded because the two founders went on a trip to South America, as far as I remember. and they were so amazingly inspired by nature. So they asked themselves, how can we do the things that we like, that is photography? How can we create a business and at the same time connect with what we care so much, that is nature and the respect to nature? So they built an organization on the inspiration of nature, right? And created amazing products using very sustainable methodologies. And not only that, every single customer that buys one of the products plants trees automatically. And it is amazing because for me, when I got my first lenses, or lens protector, etc., I received a certificate telling that with this, I'm planting 2 trees. And actually, I can see in the Gobi website, I can see the statistic of which are the products that I bought so far and how many trees were planted. Now, that's fine for me. But when they consolidate all the information from all their customers, they prepare and they communicate reports of how many trees are planted. And the numbers are amazing. So this is an example of what you can do to inspire people to be loyal to you. And every single person that I talked that likes photography and I talked about them became customers, and now they are loyal customers of them. That's Gobi. It's an Australian company. Another one, maybe closer to tech, is Fairphone. Do you know them? Yeah. So Fairphone starts some time ago with the idea of making a telephone that is fully respectful of the people producing the materials, mining, right? But they found out actually that it was extremely difficult to control the whole process of production of the telephones. And they also cared about having telephones that are not disposable, so that you can replace the parts and improve your telephone, kind of a modular phone design. So these guys grew up a lot. They had to face corruption from governments, abuse of miners that get the metals that are required for making smartphones, and they discovered just incredible things. Since then, they have been inspiring a lot of people and actually making a statement. It's not only that making a fair phone is possible, but is essential. And I think that their legacy is basically becoming one of the challengers to the main phone manufacturers. Because they are just proving that having modular phones and with reducing suffering of people and e-waste is possible. The next sample is Wurzorg. Oh my God, this is an incredible organization. I don't know how big you can see me, but I have to recommend you this book. Can you see it? It's called Reinventing Organizations. Okay, Reinventing Organizations, and the author is Frederic Laloux. I will write the name of the book in the PowerPoint so that you can receive it later on. Okay. So these guys of Wurzorg started in the Netherlands. Let me tell you. So the founder, his name is Jos de Blok, from the Netherlands, and he was a nurse, a medical nurse, and he was extremely frustrated working for the system that the healthcare system that they have there in the Netherlands. The reason why he was frustrated is because he could see that it was extremely inefficient. And it was efficient in terms of money, but it was not efficient in terms of caring for their customers. So it was a whole mix of interest between the insurance companies and the state organizations that participate and fund the whole operation. So one day he decided to go solo and to see if he could convince other nurses to take care of elderly people, going to their homes, right? So making like visits outside of the system. Well, he was completely surprised with the amount of people that decided to join. And in just a few years, this organization has grown like mushrooms all around the world. Right now, there are more than 10,000 professionals changing the way the healthcare system operates. And it's not only in the Netherlands, but in other countries as well. So it's not only that they improve the way the elderly gets attended, actually, they manage to save money. They use a lot of technology to coordinate with the different groups all around the world. There are 25 countries active. And they became a case of flat organizations and self-organized organizations. I recommend you to check for Jos de Blok. He's an incredibly inspiring person with a philosophy that should be implemented in every single organization that is modern. In the book, Reinventing Organizations, that I recommended you before, there's a whole study of what is the system that Wurzorg uses, and basically how can you implement it in your organization. And well, all of you know Wikimedia, right? Wikipedia, sorry. So Wikimedia Foundation is a social impact organization as well. So the Wikimedia Foundation, that is basically the organization that manages Wikipedia, is one of the first and most known Ashoka Fellows, right? And I don't have to explain you anything about them because you already know what they do and what's the impact that they have in the world. Do you remember the 20 volumes encyclopedias? Yes? When was the last time you bought one? They don't exist anymore, right? Basically. And that happened after Wikipedia became so popular. Super. So we're almost at the end of my presentation. And if you are thinking, okay, sounds interesting. I think that I have some inspiration here to include some social impact activities in my organization. I really want my team to feel they are working on something meaningful. And I want my organization or my startup to be capable of making systemic change in our society, and why not in the world. Then you will ask yourself, okay, but then how am I going to measure it? There's a lot of discussion about social impact measurement, and actually it's a tough thing. But I wanted to present you these chart are called the Sustainable Development Goals. Probably you already know about them, but I would suggest you to use them as a way of setting up your metrics. First of all, it's going to help you communicate which is the SDG that your organization is focusing on. and it's also going to help you increase internal awareness about what are you doing as an organization. Um, I'm working with some friends setting up a new company, and we're going to be helping companies, especially in the tech industry, that care about measuring their social impact. So if any of you is interested to join or to learn more, just let me know.
Mr. Jose, we have to wrap up because we are short
Yes,
of time.
this is basically my last slide. So, well, you all know what you are looking at, and I wanted to finish not with a negative note, but with a positive one. And it is always when we have the biggest inconveniences in our life that we come up with the best solutions. Entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship is about disruption. We see that this virus disrupted everything, and I think it is our opportunity to take action and to do a step forward. This is it from me. If anyone wants to get in contact, make me some questions, please. You will see there my website. So feel free to contact me. I'll be very happy to provide you with more information. Thank you.
Are there any questions right now for Mr. Jose, or you will mail him the questions that you have in mind? I thought so. One question. I was wrong, sorry.
I have more.
We need the microphone, please. Yeah, because of the screening.
Thank you. I have more comment than a question. I'm familiar with this Casa case, and if I'm not mistaken, they have almost 100 products in their range. And the container that you spoke about is actually the third generation of containers. And that means a really important lesson for all entrepreneurs. And that means that you don't have to be right at first. You compared entrepreneurial way of life with the path, and I think that you don't have to find your right path at first. And I think that people that are entrepreneurs perceive failures as a lessons, and that's what differentiates among other things with other people. That was my comment.
That's nice. Thank you.
Super. May I make a comment about this?
Yeah, of course.
You're 100% right. And that's exactly what makes the entrepreneurial path. Even if you decide to follow or not to follow, you are always on your own path. Your failures are exactly the reasons why you grow, right? My theory is that fear is the one that creates failure, but the entrepreneurial path is about discovering what are you afraid of and doing the things that you want anyway. Right, the guys from Scasa started this process of transformation in a long time, and they are still not 100% sustainable company, but they are working on that. So, as you well observed, their example is inspiring because it says existing companies can transform themselves.
Nice thought for the end. Do you have any other questions, or we could move on? Well, thank you, Mr. Jose. That was really inspiring, and hope to see you somewhere live, maybe next year in Zagreb.
Let's hope so. I would love to be there. I'm really missing the opportunity of being there with you.
Yeah, you will definitely come. We will invite you. Thank you so much. One applause once again to Mr. Jose.
Bye-bye.
Bye.